Hi everyone, so this is a little review of my latest bike. Recently bought this Hummingbird foldable bike a couple of months ago from the lovely guys at the Hummingbird team led by Peter. Thought I'd do a little review because there, as far as I could see, there were no customer reviews on the internet. It's my first little video of this kind, so apologies it's a little bit scratchy, but I'm trying to do it in one take and give you a little summary and all the key facts and lovely design features. So you may have seen these bikes advertised in a couple of places in social media and some of the broadsheets recently. It's quite a flash new design on the sort of folding principles. You know, there's a number of different bikes that do this. The Bromptons, Dahon, I'm never quite sure. Rally and various other brands are doing things. This one is pitching in very much at the top end of that, but bringing something that's got amazing engineering and a really nice design with a modern take on some of the old-fashioned principles. I've come from a range of bikes, but most recently a Brompton, and I guess this is really just a Brompton for the 21st century. The size and shape is not dissimilar from a Brompton, but everything that a Brompton's got in terms of 25 or perhaps more year-old technology, this is upgrading for the 21st century. If you love design, engineering and all that kind of stuff, this really is the bike for you. You'll see various features around the bike, like that rear triangle, which is CNC'd from a couple of pieces of aluminium bolted together, really nice design. The whole central piece is a single carbon monocoque, no hinges in there at all, so it's super stiff. Most of the parts of the bike are either sort of CNC'd or carbon, so the seat post is carbon, the front fork's carbon, various parts, the handlebars are carbon, all a really nice design. So these bikes are made by Prodrive, so it's a partnership between Peter, who owns and leads the team with Hummingbird, partnered with Prodrive, who are one of the leading motorsport firms in the UK. You might have heard of them if you've seen them racing Aston Martins and all that kind of stuff around Le Mans, places like that. And much as you hear in the media about people saying, oh, you know, this is F1 technology, I think that's true to say for this. The central carbon frame that you see there is made by literally the same people that make all sorts of fancy carbon parts for F1 teams in various places at the Prodrive factory in Milton Keynes, and the bike itself is assembled by the Prodrive guys in Banbury. So it's absolutely UK made. There's not a lot on this bike which is imported. Things like the cranks are Shimano, so they're coming from the Far East. Likewise, the brakes are from the Far East as well, and a couple of other parts, but a lot of the pieces really are made in the UK, and to that kind of design and engineering standard that we are, or certainly used to be known for. So this particular bike, my one, is the raw carbon finish, which probably just about comes out on the camera there. They also do a bright yellow, same as the lettering you can see. They do a bright blue and I think a red as well, so there's a few options there. My one, I've gone for the single speed gearing option, which I think just sticks to that principle of keeping the whole bike really lean and simple. But there is also a hub gear option, which I think is 3 or might be 4 speed, and adds I think a few hundred grams, nothing too drastic, but for me the single speed kind of maintained the design ethos. You'll see I've also got the mud guards, which are an option. They probably add a couple of 100 grams, something like that, but an absolute necessity for me because I'm using mine for my daily commute down to the station on the train and to my office at the other end, so it's important for me that I can ride it in all weathers. And I think without the mud guards, while some of the spray sort of gets stopped by the frame and things, I think it just gives me that all-weather capability, which is really good. The other thing to note with this bike is you'll see probably it's advertised as being 6.9 kilos, and that's the lightest bike of its kind. I mean, that is absolutely genuine. I've weighed mine, I've put some bigger pedals on, as you'll see in a minute, and the mud guards, and even with those and the lights, actually, it's still only about 7.4. It's an absolute genuine 6.9 when it comes out of the factory, which is really quite impressive. I've got a number of bikes that are never quite as low weight as they're claimed, much like in the car industry. You know, they'll give you a dry weight with no oil, no water in the washer bottle, etc., etc. So this is it's reassuring to see that it's genuine. Let's take a little look around the bike and we'll look at some of the key features. So we'll start with the handlebars here. So we've got some really nicely designed sort of CNC style brake levers. Really neat, slim design to these. You can see they're really beautifully finished. The handlebars themselves, a nice carbon bar. I think it's 520, 540 mils wide, so much like a Brompton, reasonably narrow for fitting into tight spots and things, but wide enough to be comfortable to ride. You'll see I've clipped on one of those little nog lights, which fits quite neatly on here and kind of stays with that minimalist theme, which is nice. Moving on down the front, we've got an aluminium stem with a nice kind of clamp feature here, which is much more rigid than the options you get on things like Bromptons and some of the other bikes I've seen. This means that the handlebar section here folds over the side when you fold the bike up, if you're on a train or putting in the boot, something like that. Moving down, we can now get our first good view of the frame, and you can see the lovely carbon weave that kind of goes throughout the frame here. The finishing quality really is very good on this. Lovely kind of mirror finish. You can see a reflection of something in the frame there, and the grain of the carbon itself really clear and lovely detail there. This is a good time to look at one of the really nice design features of what kind of really drew me to this bike rather than some of the others, and I think it really makes it worth its money. This is a 1.5 inch headset bearing at the bottom here. I think it might be the same at the top. It might be 1.25 at the top. I think it might be 1.5 top and bottom. It's definitely 1.5 at the bottom, and that's part of what gives this bike the really kind of rigid ride, really solid ride that you get where you don't necessarily get with some other bikes. And it's a threadless headset as well, rather than one of the old-fashioned threaded ones like you see on some of the competitors' bikes. We've got Tektro brakes. These are it's not a top-end brake, but it's a nice simple design. It's very lightweight, and it provides the reach you need to go around things like mudguards and stuff, which is nice and simple. You can see here that the forks are carbon as well. See the carbon weave coming through. It's got a metal steerer, as is normal on these things, bonded into the carbon fork, and the dropouts at the bottom are metal as well. Really nice design, light front wheel. Not sure quite where they get the hubs from, but it's a nice sort of slim hub. It seems to roll quite nicely. I think it might be 16 spoke at the front, and you can see it's a straight pull spoke with a nice skinny rim, and the standard tyre is a Schwalbe Kojak, which is kind of 1.25 inch. I think it might be like a 28mm slick tyre. Works absolutely fine in the wet. No need for a tread on these kind of road bikes. Nice, simple, quick release there. Nice and lean, lightweight. So you can see nice kind of design details around the side. So we'll move on down to the rest of the frame here. Frame comes to an end at the seat post, and drops down below the crank here. You can see there's my frame. Every frame's got its own number. Mine is frame number 19, which is nice. They've all got the unique number on the back there. If I can get that to focus, there we go. Looking at the crankset for a minute, so Shimano Alpine cranks. These are pretty light. They're not the lightest in the world, but they are probably the lightest where you can get a single ring, which is pretty rare for a road crank. Again, another nice design feature is that Hummingbird have chosen to use a standard bottom bracket in here. So this is a through axle 24mm standard. I think it's a Shimano bottom bracket, but anything 24mm will go in there nicely. Standard width. None of these kind of custom parts that only fit the unusual bikes. So this is all standard Alpine Shimano factory fit stuff from the Hummingbird guys. I think it's from memory like a 42 ring, 42, 44 is standard, but standard Spider, so you can put on a different size ring if you fancy it. I've actually put some different pedals on mine. The standard pedals that come with the bikes are a nice little quick release one. They're really small, really lightweight, and there's a little quick release attachment here, so you can actually pull the pedals off. They clip on elsewhere on the bike, so when you fold it up, it goes really slim and flat. For me, I didn't need that space saving, so I chose to just put on a really lightweight, standard kind of platform pedal with a few pins, a nice grip in the wet. But that's something, you know, standard cranks, so you can put on any pedals you like. These ones are by a company called Expedo, so they're super light, which is quite nice for the theme of the bike. Moving back a bit further, we'll quickly look at the seat post. So we've got an aluminium seat post sleeve here, I think bonded into the carbon frame. the carbon seat post itself. It's a nice little detail worth mentioning. So most seat posts don't have this, but the measure here allows you to know how far into the frame you've put it. So if you're folding the bike and maybe dropping the seat down to save you a bit of space, you can put it back exactly where you like it, which is good. Standard quick release here, makes life nice and easy. Standard saddle, not quite sure who makes it, but really lean carbon rails, which is nice. So it's actually quite comfy despite being super thin. And I've got a nice little USC light hiding under there, which fits quite neatly. Move back down. Right, this is one of the nicest design features. So carbon frames are becoming more and more common, and people kind of come to expect that, and it's a beautiful design, no doubt, but it's actually not the part of the bike that a lot of people really notice. The thing that people really seem to pay attention to is this rear frame. So this is two halves bolted together, both at the rear axle through the hub. There's a sort of a cross member here, and then it actually pivots around the bottom bracket itself. It's a really nice CNC'd feature. By undoing this quick release here, the whole of the bottom of the bike swings under, just like a Brompton does, and it folds up. The thing that isn't like a Brompton is the fact that it's pivoted around the bottom bracket here, and that means there's no need for a chain tensioner. It makes such a difference. So the chain here is single speed, as I said. If you had a hub, it doesn't change. You get your chain tension right, stays that way, no need for a tensioner, and therefore nothing really to build up the muck around the rear. So you can see actually when I ride this most days in most weathers, and you can see the chain is really quite clean. You know, the tyres there, you can see are a little bit muddy. I've had this a couple of months now, not washed it once, and everything stays really nice, which is great. Really good design feature, because my other bikes really get clogged up with leaves and all the kind of yuck that you get on the road, especially at this time of year. Rear brake is the same as the front, so it's another Tektro R539, lightweight and quite reasonable. I've put Shimano Dura Ace pads on here, which I find better than the standard pads. They're a little bit slimmer as well, so you get a bit of better clamping force, which is good. Not a big deal, but you know, for 15 quid upgrade or something, definitely worthwhile. I've also put, you can see here, a little bit of tape along the frame, so I wasn't sure if the chain would bash into the frame. It doesn't seem to actually, but the tape's there just to protect it anyway. Shame to have such an amazing bike and to let it get ruined. Let's look at the rear wheel for a minute. So the rear wheel's a nice design. We've got a 2-cross spoke setup on the drive side, and we've got straight pull spokes, 0 cross on the non-drive side, which is a nice way of saving a little bit of weight but giving it the stiffness just where it needs it. It's a really nice hub actually. I'll give it a spin in a second, and it's got that real kind of engineering mechanical grade feel and noise like you get on the best hubs from sort of Hope and companies like that. Rear mudguard, same sort of design as the front. It's like a plastic finish, but it's nice and solid. It's got a little mount, not mount, kind of like a little stand bit here that lines up with the two here as well, so when the bike is folded up it can stand on those two nicely and you're not rubbing the frame and that kind of thing. The rim is the same as at the front. It's I think it's aluminium magnesium alloy, I remember Peter telling me, so it's a really light rim. If you take the wheels off here, it's amazing just how light they are really, and clearly they're 16-inch, which helps anyway, but the whole thing is really quite impressive. Schwalbe Kojak tyre, just like at the front. So that gives you a little bit of a walk around of some of the key features. Let's give you an idea of the weight. It's hard to do on a little video like this, but if I just pick up the bike, I'm now holding it above the ground, kind of holding it head height. It really is an incredibly light piece of kit, which is really kind of illustrates just how nicely it's made and the weight-saving features throughout. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. By all means, put any comments down, I'll try and respond to them. Maybe there's features of the bike that I've not covered. Hopefully I've given you an idea of just why it's such a premium bike. I really feel it's value for money. It's a lot of money for a bike like this, but I really feel like that's good value when you're riding something every day. And it's a bit of a pleasure to have something that is a little bit out of the ordinary. People sort of stop and ask about it occasionally. Something that's British made, which I think is really important to me. It's got that kind of design quality, which is nice. So it's a really enjoyable, lovely bike. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Cheers.